You will not rise to the level of your hopes. You will fall to the level of your discipline. Life will test you. That is not a question, it's a certainty. Pain will visit, loss will arrive, but your task is not to avoid hardship. It is to become the kind of person who cannot be broken by it. In this message, I will teach you how to endure without collapsing, how to suffer without surrendering, because your power lies not in what happens, but in what remains standing after it all. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Strength is not the absence of pain, it's the refusal to be owned by it. In the depths of night, when you lie awake questioning everything, remember this truth. Being unbreakable has nothing to do with avoiding wounds. It has everything to do with how you carry them. I have seen men in golden palaces crumble at the slightest insult, and I have witnessed slaves stand tall under the weight of empires. The difference was never in their circumstances. It was in their understanding of what true strength means. Let me share with you what most fail to grasp. Being unbreakable is not a destination. It's not some mythical state where pain cannot touch you. Pain will always come. Loss will always find you. The true measure of an unbreakable spirit lies in what happens next. Think of the mighty oak tree. In violent storms it bends, but does not break. Its strength comes not from resisting the wind, but from having roots that go deep. This is what we must become, not rigid, but resilient. Not immune to suffering, but impossible to destroy by it. But here's what separates the unbreakable from the fragile. They understand that every crack, every wound, every moment of suffering is not a weakness. It's an opportunity to prove their strength. When others see scars, they see battle medals. When others see obstacles, they see teachers. The unbreakable person knows something that the world has forgotten. Comfort is not the goal. Easy times create weak people. It's in the forge of difficulty that we hammer out our true character. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt, these are not interruptions to your journey. They are the journey. Let me ask you this. What if everything that's pushing against you right now is not trying to break you? What if it's trying to build you? What if the weight on your shoulders isn't meant to crush you but to strengthen you? The path to becoming unbreakable begins with this radical shift in perspective. You must stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a student of life. Everything that happens, good or bad, pleasant or painful, becomes your teacher. Here's what most people don't understand. The unbreakable person isn't someone who never feels fear. They feel it deeply, but they act anyway. They're not someone who never doubts. They doubt, but they persist. They're not someone who never fails. They fail often, but they refuse to stay down. This is the first lesson in becoming unbreakable. Accept that you will be tested. Accept that you will be pushed to your limits. Accept that there will be days when everything seems to be falling apart. But make this unshakable commitment to yourself. You may bend, but you will not break. You may stumble, but you will not stay down. You may lose battles, but you will not lose yourself. Remember this. The same fire that melts butter forges steel. The difference isn't in the fire, it's in the substance. Your task is not to avoid the fire of life, but to become the kind of substance that grows stronger within it. As we continue this journey together, I will show you exactly how to build this internal fortitude. But first, you must embrace this fundamental truth. Being unbreakable isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's not about never falling. It's about rising every single time you fall, until rising becomes your natural response. To any fall, think about this deeply. What forces in your life are you currently treating as enemies when they might actually be your greatest teachers in disguise? What challenges are you trying to avoid when they might be the very things you need to embrace? The journey to becoming unbreakable begins now, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready. Now, because the ultimate secret of the unbreakable is this: they don't wait for the storm to pass. They learn to dance in the rain. No one is born with resilience. It is earned in the fire. Let this truth sink deep into your consciousness. Every great person you admire, every leader who has shaped history, every warrior who has conquered impossible odds, they were not born unbreakable. They were forged, just as steel is forged, through heat and pressure and time. I have witnessed this transformation countless times, both in myself and in others. As emperor, I've seen soft-handed nobles become hardened commanders. I've watched uncertain youth grow into unwavering leaders. The process is always the same: resistance, repetition, reformation. Here's what most don't understand about becoming unbreakable. It's not a single moment of triumph. It's thousands of small decisions made day after day in the face of adversity. It's choosing the harder path when comfort beckons. It's rising early when your body begs for rest. It's speaking truth when silence would be easier. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. The metal must be heated until it glows, hammered until it bends, cooled and reheated countless times. Each strike of the hammer, each blast of heat, each cooling in water, these are not random acts of violence against the metal. They are deliberate steps in creating something of lasting strength and beauty. You are that metal. And life, with all its hardships, challenges, and seemingly unfair twists, is the blacksmith. Every setback, every failure, every moment of doubt is another strike of the hammer. Every challenge that pushes you to your limits is another blast of heat. Every period of reflection and recovery is the cooling that sets your new shape. But here's what separates those who become unbreakable from those who remain brittle. They understand that pain is not punishment, it's purification. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" Let me share a secret that most will never grasp. The things you resist most are often the things forging you most powerfully. That person who challenges everything you say, they're teaching you patience and clarity of thought. That project that seems impossible, it's building your capacity for complex problem solving. That loss that broke your heart, it's expanding your capacity for resilience and compassion. You must understand this. Comfort is the enemy of growth. In comfort, we remain as we are. It's only when we're challenged, when we're pushed beyond our current capabilities, that we begin to transform. This is why the most privileged among us are often the most fragile. They've never been forced to develop their strength. Here's what most people don't want to hear. You must seek out challenge. You must volunteer for difficulty. You must choose the harder path deliberately. Because if you wait for life to forge you, the process will be chaotic and painful. But if you choose to forge yourself, you become the blacksmith of your own character. Think about the last time you faced a significant challenge. Remember how you felt during the struggle, the doubt, the fear, the uncertainty. Now remember how you felt after overcoming it. That sensation of being stronger, more capable, more resilient, that's not just a feeling, it's literal truth. You were being forged. This is why I teach you to welcome hardship, not avoid it, to embrace challenge, not fear it. Each difficulty you face is another opportunity to strengthen your character, to temper your resolve, to forge your will into something unbreakable. Consider this: the same wind that extinguishes a candle feeds a fire. The difference isn't in the wind, it's in what it meets. Your task is to become the fire, to grow stronger in the face of resistance, to become the kind of person who is fed by challenge rather than extinguished by it. As we continue, remember this: you are not yet what you will become. You are in process. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome, every moment of adversity you endure, these are not interruptions to your development. They are your development. The forging continues every day, with every choice, with every action. The only question is, will you resist the process or will you embrace it? Will you remain soft or will you allow yourself to be forged into something unbreakable? The fire is waiting. The hammer is raised. The choice to begin your forging is yours. Power is quiet. True strength isn't loud. It's disciplined. There's a fundamental truth that most people miss when they think about strength. The most powerful forces in nature operate in silence. Gravity moves planets without a sound. Roots break through concrete without a word. The sun rises without announcement. This is the discipline beneath the surface, the quiet, consistent force that shapes everything. Let me share what I've learned through years of governing an empire. The ones who speak endlessly of their strength rarely possess it. The ones who boast about their discipline often lack it entirely. True power operates beneath the surface in the daily rituals and habits that no one sees, but everyone feels. Here's what most people don't understand. Discipline isn't about dramatic gestures or grand declarations. It's about the small decisions you make when no one is watching. It's about the promises you keep to yourself in the quiet hours of the morning. It's about the standards you maintain even when there's no immediate reward. Think about water, how it shapes mountains not through force, but through persistence. This is the model of true discipline, not the occasional burst of effort, but the constant, quiet application of will. Not the loud proclamation of intentions, but the silent execution of principles. The discipline beneath the surface manifests in many ways. It's in the control of your thoughts before they become words. It's in the mastery of your emotions before they become actions. It's in the regulation of your desires before they become demands. Let me ask you this. What do you do when no one is watching? This is where true discipline lives, not in the public display of virtue, but in the private adherence to principle, not in the dramatic moment of crisis, but in the mundane moments of choice. Here's what separates the truly disciplined from the merely ambitious. The disciplined person understands that every moment is a test. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice control. Every challenge is a chance to demonstrate mastery, not to others, but to oneself. The discipline beneath the surface has three fundamental components. First, there is the discipline of mind. This means maintaining clear thoughts in chaos, steady judgment in crisis, and calm reflection in conflict. It means choosing your thoughts rather than being chosen by them. Second, there is the discipline of action. This means doing what needs to be done regardless of mood or circumstance. It means maintaining standards even when standards are inconvenient. It means following through on commitments, especially the ones you make to yourself. Third, there is the discipline of will. This means maintaining your course when everything around you suggests surrender. It means holding to your principles when compromise would be easier. It means staying true to your purpose when distraction calls. But here's what most people don't want to accept. This kind of discipline isn't achieved through motivation or inspiration. It's achieved through repetition and ritual. It's built through thousands of small choices, each one reinforcing the last. Think about this deeply. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you're building this discipline. Every time you maintain composure when emotions run high, you're strengthening this power. Every time you follow through on a commitment when excuses are abundant, you're deepening this foundation. The discipline beneath the surface isn't visible to others, and that's precisely why it's so powerful. It's not performed for an audience. It's not maintained for approval. It exists purely as an expression of your highest self, your deepest commitments. Remember this, the person who appears unshakable in crisis wasn't born that way. They built that strength through countless invisible moments of choice. The leader who remains calm in chaos earned that ability through countless private victories over their own impulses. As we continue, understand this. Your greatest victories will not be the ones others applaud. They will be the quiet moments when you chose discipline over desire, principle over popularity, and long-term growth over short-term gratification. The discipline beneath the surface is your true power, not what you show, but what you know, not what you claim, but what you are. Not what you do for others to see, but what you do because it aligns with your deepest values. Build this foundation in silence. Let your results speak for themselves. True power doesn't need to announce itself. It simply needs to be. Build within what no one can take from you. In all my years of ruling an empire, I've learned one truth that towers above all others. External power is temporary, but internal. Strength is permanent. Today, I will teach you about the inner fortress, the unconquerable castle of the mind that no external force can breach. Here's what most people don't understand. Everything external is temporary. Wealth can be stolen. Status can be stripped. Reputation can be destroyed. But what you build within, your principles, your understanding, your self-discipline, these things are immune to fortune's arrows. Think of your mind as a fortress, not a prison that confines you, but a citadel that protects what matters most. Every principle you hold becomes a stone in its foundation. Every truth you understand becomes a beam in its structure. Every challenge you overcome becomes a guard. At its gate, let me share something crucial. The strength of your inner fortress isn't measured by how well it keeps the world out, but by how well it keeps you centered within. When chaos rages outside, can you find stillness inside? When uncertainty clouds everything, can you find clarity within your walls? This is what separates those with true power from those with mere position. The ones with true power have built something inside themselves that no external circumstance can touch. They've created an internal reality so solid that external reality cannot shake it. But here's what most fail to grasp. Your inner fortress isn't built in a day. It's constructed thought by thought, choice by choice, principle by principle. Every time you choose truth over convenience, you add a stone. Every time you choose principle over preference, you strengthen a wall. Every time you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort, you deepen your foundation. Consider this. When a storm approaches, where do people seek shelter? In the strongest building they can find. Your mind must become that building. Your character must become that refuge, not just for yourself, but for others who will look to you for strength when their own worlds are shaking. The construction of your inner fortress requires several essential elements. First, you must build unshakable principles. These are not mere preferences or opinions. They are the fundamental truths by which you navigate life. They don't change with circumstances. They don't bend under pressure. They are the bedrock upon which everything else stands. Second, you must develop impenetrable boundaries. Know what you will and won't accept from others and from yourself. These boundaries aren't walls to keep good things out. They're filters to keep harmful things from corrupting your inner space. Third, you must cultivate unwavering self-knowledge. Understanding yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your tendencies is crucial. This self-knowledge becomes the map of your fortress, showing you where to build stronger and where to maintain vigilance. Here's what most people don't want to hear. Building your inner fortress often means standing alone. While others seek external validation, you must learn to find validation within. While others chase temporary pleasures, you must pursue permanent principles. Let me ask you this. What would it feel like to be truly unconquerable? Not in the physical sense, but in the sense that nothing external could disturb your inner peace. This is what the inner fortress provides. Not invulnerability to harm, but invulnerability to disturbance. Think about the most resilient person you know. Their strength doesn't come from what they possess or what position they hold. It comes from what they've built within themselves, their character, their principles, their understanding. This is what you must build. The beauty of the inner fortress is this. Once built, it cannot be taken from you. No circumstance can steal it. No person can damage it. No loss can diminish it. It becomes your constant companion, your reliable refuge, your source of strength when everything else fails. Remember this. The world will test your fortress. Adversity will probe for weaknesses. Doubt will question its foundations. This is good. This is how you discover where you need to build stronger, where you need to reinforce your walls, where you need to deepen your understanding. As we continue, understand that every challenge you face is an opportunity to strengthen your fortress. Every difficulty is a chance to prove its walls. Every setback is a moment to demonstrate its resilience. Your task is not to hide within your fortress, but to operate from its strength. Not to use it as an escape from life, but as a platform from which to engage with life more effectively. Let it be your center of power, your source of peace, your point of unchanging certainty in an ever-changing world. Build this fortress well, for in the end it is not what happens to you that determines your fate. It is what happens in you, not what the world throws at you, but what you've built within you to handle whatever comes. Ease weakens, challenge strengthens. Let this truth settle in your mind like an immovable stone. The comfortable path leads to weakness. The challenging path leads to strength. This is not philosophy. This is nature's law, as certain as gravity, as reliable as the sunrise. I have seen this truth play out countless times, both in governing an empire and in governing myself. Those who seek constant comfort become unable to handle discomfort. Those who embrace challenge become impossible to break. Here's what most people don't understand. Hard things make strong people, not because of the difficulty itself, but because of the transformation that occurs when we face that difficulty head-on. Every challenge you overcome rewrites your understanding of what's possible. Think of muscle growth. The muscle doesn't grow during comfort. It grows during resistance. It grows when it's pushed beyond its current capacity. The same principle applies to your character, your resilience, your capabilities. They grow not through ease, but through challenge. Let me share something crucial. The hardest things in your life right now, the obstacles that seem to be blocking your path, are actually the path. They're not there to stop you. They're there to shape you, to strengthen you, to transform you into someone capable of achieving what you dream of achieving. But here's what separates those who grow stronger from those who remain weak: their relationship with difficulty. The weak see challenge as punishment. The strong see it as training. The weak ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The strong ask, "What is this building in me?" Consider this. Every great achievement in human history was accomplished by people who faced and overcame significant challenges. No one ever became exceptional by taking the easy path. No one ever built something remarkable by avoiding difficulty. Here's what most people don't want to accept. You must actively seek out hard things. You must voluntarily embrace challenge. Waiting for life to challenge you is passive. Choosing your challenges is active. It's the difference between being shaped by circumstance and shaping yourself. Think about this deeply. Every time you choose the harder path, the early morning workout when you want to sleep, the difficult conversation when you want to avoid, conflict, the complex project, when you could choose something easier, you're literally restructuring your character. The transformation happens in stages. First, there's resistance. Your mind and body rebel against the challenge. Everything in you wants to retreat to comfort. This is normal, but it's also the exact moment when growth begins. Second, there's adaptation. Your capacity expands to meet the challenge. What seemed impossible becomes manageable. What felt unbearable becomes tolerable. This is where strength is built. Third, there's integration. The strength you've built becomes part of you. The capacity you've developed becomes your new baseline. What once seemed hard now feels normal. This is where transformation is completed. Let me ask you this. What challenges are you currently avoiding? What difficult things are you postponing? These are not obstacles to your growth. They are opportunities for your growth. They are not your enemies. They are your teachers. Here's a truth that most won't acknowledge. Comfort is a slow poison. It doesn't kill you quickly, but it gradually diminishes your capacity to handle life's inevitable challenges. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're choosing long-term weakness over long-term strength. Remember this: the same challenge that breaks one person strengthens another. The difference isn't in the challenge, it's in the response to the challenge. Do you retreat or do you advance? Do you make excuses or do you make progress? Do you see it as a burden or do you see it as an opportunity? Your task is not to wait for hard things to find you. Your task is to actively seek them out, to deliberately put yourself in situations that will force you to grow, to voluntarily take on challenges that will forge you into something stronger. As we continue, understand this: every hard thing you face is a gift, if you choose to see it that way. Every obstacle is an opportunity. Every challenge is a chance to prove to yourself what you're capable of becoming. The path to strength is clear. Do hard things. Do them consistently. Do them deliberately. Let each challenge be a forge that shapes you, each difficulty a hammer that hardens your resolve, each obstacle a teacher that expands your capabilities. Choose the hard path, not because it's hard, but because it makes you strong, not because it's uncomfortable, but because comfort cannot build what challenge can. Let difficulty be your ally, resistance be your friend, challenge be your path to transformation. Most fear is just imagination with bad posture. In all my years of leading armies and governing an empire, I've learned this truth: fear is rarely what it claims to be. It masquerades as protection, disguises itself as wisdom, presents itself as reality, but most often it is merely imagination gone wrong. Let me share what most people don't understand about fear. It's not the enemy. It's not something to be eliminated. It's something to be examined, understood, and then properly categorized. Is this fear protecting you from genuine danger, or is it protecting you from growth? Think about this. How many of your fears from a year ago actually materialized? How many of the disasters you imagined actually occurred? If you're like most people, your mind has been an unreliable prophet, predicting catastrophes that never came to pass. Here's the crucial distinction you must learn to make. There's a difference between actual danger and imagined danger. Actual danger requires immediate action. Imagined danger, the kind that lives in what-if scenarios and worst-case possibilities, requires immediate examination. But here's what separates those who master their fears from those who are mastered by them: the ability to question fear's authority. When fear speaks, they don't automatically obey. They investigate. They ask, is this fear telling me the truth? Is this fear serving me, or am I serving it? Consider this: fear is often just a storyteller with a very limited imagination. It only knows how to tell stories of disaster, defeat, and humiliation. It never tells stories of triumph, growth, or unexpected joy. Why do we give such a biased narrator so much authority over our actions? Let me teach you the Stoic practice of fear examination. First, name your fear specifically, not just, I'm afraid of failure, but I'm afraid that if I start this business and it fails, I will lose money, respect, and security. Vague fears have power. Specific fears can be examined. Second, question your fear's assumptions. What evidence supports this fear? What evidence contradicts it? Is this fear based on past experience, or is it merely imagination creating worst-case scenarios? Third, expand your vision beyond the fear. If what you fear happens, what else might happen? What opportunities might emerge? What strength might you develop? Fear only shows you one possible future, the worst one. Here's what most people don't want to accept. Many of our fears are learned responses to past events that no longer exist. We're carrying protective mechanisms that we no longer need, avoiding dangers that are no longer present. Let me ask you this: what might you attempt if you weren't afraid? What person might you become if fear wasn't in the driver's seat? These questions aren't just rhetorical, they're diagnostic. They reveal how much of your life is being directed by fear rather than wisdom. Think about the most significant growth experiences in your life. Chances are they required you to move through fear, not because the fear wasn't real, but because something else, purpose, love, necessity, was more real than the fear. The practice of examining fear reveals several important truths. First, fear is often more painful than the thing we fear. The anticipation, the worry, the stress of avoiding what we fear often costs us more than facing it would. Second, fear grows in isolation. When we keep our fears to ourselves, they seem more reasonable, more justified. When we expose them to the light of examination or share them with others, they often reveal themselves as overblown. Third, fear can be a compass. Sometimes what we're most afraid of is exactly what we need to do next, not because it's dangerous, but because it's important for our growth. Remember this, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to examine fear, to question its authority, to move forward despite its presence when wisdom says the path is right. As we continue, understand that your task isn't to become fearless. Fearlessness isn't wisdom, it's recklessness. Your task is to become fear-wise, to develop the ability to distinguish between fears that protect you and fears that limit you. The path forward is clear. When fear arises, examine it. When it speaks, question it. When it commands, evaluate its authority. Let fear be a counselor that you listen to, but not a ruler that you obey without question. Your relationship with fear will determine much of your life's direction. Will you let it be the author of your story, writing tales of limitation and caution? Or will you be the author, using fear as valuable information, but not as final authority? Choose wisdom over fear. Choose examination over automatic reaction. Choose growth over protection. For in the end, most of what we fear never comes to pass. But the growth we forfeit to fear is lost forever. Complaining wastes strength. Enduring builds it. Listen carefully to this truth, for it may be the most important lesson you'll ever learn about true strength. The energy you spend complaining about your circumstances is energy you could be using to change them. I have seen this principle play out countless times on the battlefield and in the Senate chambers. Those who waste their breath lamenting their situation remain trapped within it. Those who channel that same energy into endurance rise above it. Here's what most people don't understand about endurance. It's not just about lasting longer. It's about maintaining your dignity and composure while lasting longer. Any beast can endure through bare survival. But to endure with grace, with purpose, with unwavering principle, this is the mark of true strength. Think about water dropping on stone. Each drop seems insignificant, yet over time it carves through solid rock. Not through force, but through persistent endurance. Not through complaint about the hardness of the stone, but through quiet, consistent action. Let me share something crucial. Complaining has a seductive quality. It offers the illusion of action while actually draining your power to act. It feels like you're doing something about your situation, when in reality, you're merely reinforcing your role as a victim of that situation. But here's what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck: their relationship with difficulty. The stuck ones say, "Look how hard this is." The rising ones say, "Look how strong this is making me." The stuck ones seek sympathy. The rising ones seek growth. Consider this. Every time you complain, you're making a choice. You're choosing to use your energy to describe your circumstances rather than to change them. You're choosing to focus on what's happening to you rather than what you can do about it. Here's what most people don't want to hear. Nobody of consequence is interested in your complaints. They're interested in your actions. They're not moved by your difficulties. They're moved by how you handle those difficulties. The art of enduring without complaint involves several key principles. First, accept reality completely, not with resignation, but with clear-eyed recognition. What is. Your opinion about whether it should be different doesn't change its reality. It only changes your relationship with that reality. Second, focus on response over reaction. Reaction is emotional and immediate. Response is thoughtful and strategic. Reaction leads to complaint. Response leads to action. Third, maintain your standards, especially when it's difficult. Anyone can have good posture when standing still. The test is keeping it while carrying a heavy load. Let me ask you this: what would change in your life if you took all the energy you currently spend on complaining and redirected it toward strategic action? What might you accomplish if you replaced "this is unfair" with "this is what I'm dealing with"? Think about the most admirable people you know. Do they spend their time complaining about their circumstances, or do they spend their time working with their circumstances? This is not a coincidence. It's a characteristic of greatness. Here's a truth that most won't acknowledge. Complaining is a form of learned helplessness. Every time you complain, you're training yourself to be a victim. Every time you endure without complaint, you're training yourself to be a victor. Remember this: the same circumstance that breaks one person strengthens another. The difference isn't in the circumstance, it's in the response to the circumstance. Do you use your energy to describe the problem, or do you use it to solve the problem? The practice of silent endurance builds several crucial strengths. First, it builds internal resilience. When you stop voicing every discomfort, you develop the ability to handle greater discomfort. Second, it builds focus. When you're not constantly narrating your difficulties, you can concentrate more fully on overcoming them. Third, it builds respect, both self-respect and the respect of others. People notice those who handle difficulty with dignity. Your task is not to seek a life free of challenges. Such a life would weaken you. Your task is to become the kind of person who can endure challenges with grace and purpose. As we continue, understand this: every difficulty in your life is an opportunity to practice this art of silent endurance. Every challenge is a chance to demonstrate what true strength looks like. The path is clear. Face what comes. Handle what comes. Use what comes to make you stronger, but do it with dignity. Do it with purpose. Do it without the weakness of complaint. Let your actions speak. Let your endurance inspire. Let your silence in difficulty become a testimony to your strength. For in the end, it's not what happens to you that people remember. It's how you handled what happened to you. The real war is always internal. In my years as both emperor and philosopher, I've come to understand this fundamental truth. While the world sees the external battles we fight, with circumstances, with others, with fate itself, the decisive battles are always fought within our own minds. Here's what most people don't understand. Every external conflict is first won or lost. In the internal arena, before you can conquer any external challenge, you must first conquer the internal resistance, doubt, and fear that stand in your way. Think of your mind as a battlefield. On one side stands your highest self, disciplined, purposeful, principle-driven. On the other side stands your lower nature, reactive, comfort-seeking, fear-driven. Every decision you make is a skirmish between these forces. Let me share something crucial. The outcome of this internal war determines everything else in your life. Win the battle within, and external challenges become manageable. Lose the battle within, and even small obstacles become insurmountable. But here's what separates those who master themselves from those who remain slaves to their impulses: their understanding of where the real battle lies. The masses blame circumstances, curse fate, rail against others. The wise know that the true battle is always with themselves. Consider this: when you face a challenge, two voices arise within you. One says, "This is too hard, give up. Retreat." To comfort. The other says, "This is your chance. Push forward, grow stronger." Which voice wins isn't determined by the challenge. It's determined by which voice you've trained yourself to follow. The internal battle has many fronts. First, there's the battle with fear. Not just fear of external threats, but fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of your own potential. This battle isn't won through fearlessness, but through the courage to act despite fear. Second, there's the battle with desire. Not just desire for pleasure, but desire for ease, for approval, for immediate gratification. This battle isn't won through suppression, but through the development of higher desires. Third, there's the battle with doubt. Not just doubt in your abilities, but doubt in your worth, your purpose, your path. This battle isn't won through blind confidence, but through tested and proven self-trust. Here's what most people don't want to accept. Every external achievement is really an internal victory. Before you can build anything in the world, you must first build the internal capacity to create it. Let me ask you this. What battles are you currently fighting externally that are really reflections of internal conflicts? What problems are you trying to solve out there that really need to be solved in here? Think about your most significant victories. Were they really about overcoming external obstacles, or were they about overcoming your own limitations, fears, and doubts? This insight reveals where the real battlefield lies. The mastery of the internal battle requires several key understandings. First, recognize that your thoughts are not you. They are events in your consciousness that you can observe, evaluate, and choose to follow or not follow. Second, understand that emotions are messages, not commands. They provide information about your internal state, but they don't have to dictate your actions. Third, accept that internal conflict is normal. The battle between your higher and lower nature isn't a sign something's wrong. It's a sign you're alive and growing. Remember this: the same circumstance that defeats one person strengthens another. The difference isn't in the circumstance, it's in the internal response to the circumstance. Do you let it break you, or do you let it build you? The practice of internal warfare requires constant vigilance. First, you must monitor your thoughts. What patterns do you fall into? What stories do you tell yourself? What excuses do you habitually make? Second, you must challenge your assumptions. Are your limitations real, or are they self-imposed? Are your beliefs empowering you or restricting you? Third, you must maintain your standards, not just in your actions, but in your thoughts, not just in public, but in private. As we continue, understand this: every external challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your internal command. Every difficulty is a chance to prove who's really in charge, your higher self or your lower nature. The path forward is clear. Choose the inner battle. Embrace the internal conflict. Understand that every external achievement begins with an internal victory. Let your primary battlefield be within. Let your first conquests be over your own fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. For in the end, it's not what happens around you that determines your fate. It's what happens within you. You don't choose whether you suffer. You choose how. Let this truth sink deep into your consciousness. Suffering is not optional in this life. It comes to all of us, emperor and slave alike. What is optional, what is entirely within your power, is how you meet that suffering. I've witnessed this truth both in governing an empire and in my personal losses. The same event that destroys one person can be transformed into strength by another. The difference lies not in the intensity of the suffering, but in the approach to it. Here is what most people don't understand about suffering. It's not just something to be endured, it's something to be understood. Every instance of suffering carries within it a lesson, a seed of strength, a potential for growth that cannot be gained any other way. Think of a blacksmith's hammer striking hot metal. From the perspective of the metal, this is suffering. But from the perspective of the final sword, this suffering was essential. This is how you must learn to view your own trials. Let me share something crucial. The quality of your life will not be determined by how much suffering you avoid, but by how well you learn to suffer. This is not about seeking suffering. Life will provide enough on its own. This is about transforming suffering from an enemy into a teacher. But here's what separates those who grow through suffering from those who are diminished by it, their relationship with pain. The diminished see pain as pure negativity to be avoided at all costs. The growing understand that pain, while never pleasant, can be profoundly productive. Consider this: every significant growth in your life likely came through some form of suffering. Every meaningful achievement, every deep understanding, every valuable skill was probably forged in the furnace of difficulty. Here's what most people don't want to accept: suffering well is a skill. Like any skill, it can be developed, refined, and mastered. But also, like any skill, it requires practice, understanding, and the right approach. The art of suffering well involves several key principles. First, accept the reality of suffering completely. Don't waste energy fighting against the fact of pain. Accept that it's here, then focus your energy on how to use it. Second, maintain perspective. Remember that suffering is temporary, even when it feels permanent. Remember that others have endured similar or worse pains and emerged stronger. Third, seek meaning in suffering. Don't just ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What can this teach me? How can this strengthen me? What understanding can I gain from this?" Let me ask you this: what if every instance of suffering in your life was actually an opportunity? What if pain wasn't just something to endure, but something to utilize? How would this change your relationship with difficulty? Think about the people you most admire. Chances are they've suffered significantly and suffered well. Their greatness likely came not despite their suffering, but partially because of how they chose to handle it. Here's a truth that most won't acknowledge: comfort is not the path to growth. Ease is not the road to strength. The capacities you most value in yourself and others were likely forged through difficulty. The practice of suffering well develops several crucial qualities. First, it builds resilience. Each pain endured with grace increases your capacity to handle future challenges. Second, it deepens wisdom. Suffering, when properly understood, teaches lessons that cannot be learned any other way. Third, it expands compassion. Your own suffering, properly processed, becomes the bridge by which you understand and connect with others in their pain. Remember this: the same suffering that breaks one person can become a source of strength for another. The difference isn't in the suffering, it's in the response to suffering. Do you let it defeat you, or do you let it develop you? Your task is not to seek suffering. Life will provide plenty. Your task is to develop the ability to suffer well, to suffer productively, to suffer in a way that makes you stronger rather than weaker. As we continue, understand this: every instance of suffering in your life is an opportunity to practice this art. Every pain is a chance to demonstrate what you've learned about suffering well. The path forward is clear. Accept suffering as inevitable. Study it as a teacher. Use it as a forge. Let each instance of pain become a workshop where you craft yourself into something stronger, wiser, more resilient. Let your suffering serve you. Let your pain become productive. Let your difficulties develop you. For in the end, it's not what happens to you that determines your growth. It's how you choose to suffer through what happens to you. You cannot be both a victim and a master. Choose one. In all my years of observing human nature, both as emperor and as student of wisdom, I've discovered this unchangeable truth. The moment you embrace victimhood is the moment you surrender your power to shape your destiny. Here's what most people don't understand about victimhood: it's not a circumstance, it's a choice. No matter what happens to you, you always retain the power to choose how you interpret and respond to it. This choice determines whether you become a victim or a master. Think deeply about this. Two people can face the exact same circumstance. One becomes bitter, helpless, trapped in blame. The other becomes stronger, wiser, more determined to create change. The circumstance didn't determine their response. Their chosen perspective did. Let me share something crucial. Victimhood has a seductive quality. It offers immediate comfort. It provides ready excuses. It attracts sympathy. But it extracts a terrible price. It steals your power to create change. But here's what separates those who rise to mastery from those who remain trapped in victimhood: their relationship with responsibility. The victim asks, "Who's to blame?" For this, the master asks, "What can I do about this?" The victim focuses on what's been done to them. The master focuses on what they can do next. Consider this. Every time you blame someone or something else for your situation, you're essentially saying, "My life is controlled by forces outside of me." Every time you take responsibility, you're saying, "I have the power to influence what happens next." The death of victimhood requires several fundamental shifts. First, you must abandon the search for blame. Whether something is fair or unfair becomes irrelevant. The only relevant question becomes, what am I going to do about it? Second, you must embrace complete responsibility, not just for your actions, but for your responses to what happens to you, not just for your successes, but for your failures. Third, you must reject the comfort of excuses. Every excuse you accept becomes a ceiling on your potential. Every justification for inaction becomes a wall around your growth. Here's what most people don't want to hear. Nobody of consequence is interested in your excuses. They're interested in your results. They don't care about what happened to you. They care about what you did about it. Let me ask you this. What areas of your life are currently paralyzed by victimhood thinking? Where are you waiting for someone else to fix things? Where are you blaming circumstances instead of taking action? Think about the most successful people you know. Do they spend time listing all the reasons why they can't succeed, or do they focus on finding ways to succeed despite obstacles? This is not coincidence, it's causation. The transformation from victim to master involves several key understandings. First, recognize that your past experiences may explain your current situation, but they don't determine your future actions. Your history is description, not destiny. Second, understand that taking responsibility isn't about taking blame. It's about taking power. When you're responsible for something, you have the power to change it. Third, accept that life isn't fair and that this truth frees you rather than constrains you. When you stop expecting fairness, you can start focusing on effectiveness. Remember this: the same circumstance that creates a victim in one person creates a master in another. The difference isn't in the circumstance, it's in the chosen response. To the circumstance, the practice of mastery requires constant vigilance. First, you must monitor your language. Are you using the language of victimhood, "I have to, I can't, they made me," or the language of mastery, "I choose to, I will find a way, I am responsible"? Second, you must examine your thoughts. Are you focusing on what you can't control, or what you can? Are you dwelling on what's been done to you, or what you can do next? Third, you must guard your associations. Victimhood is contagious. Surround yourself with those who take responsibility, not those who make excuses. As we continue, understand this: every moment presents a choice between victimhood and mastery. Every challenge offers an opportunity to blame or to take responsibility, to make excuses or to take action. The path forward is clear. Choose mastery over victimhood. Choose responsibility over blame. Choose action over excuses. For in the end, it's not what happens to you that determines your destiny. It's how you choose to respond to what happens. Let your response to life's challenges become your signature. Let your handling of difficulties become your strength. Let your rejection of victimhood become your power. For mastery isn't given. It's chosen, moment by moment, challenge by challenge, day by day. Calm in crisis is not a reaction. It's preparation. In my years commanding armies and governing an empire, I've learned this essential truth. The time to develop stillness is not during the storm, but before it arrives. Those who appear most composed in chaos have trained their minds for that moment long before it came. Here's what most people don't understand about stillness in crisis. It's not a natural response, it's a cultivated one. Just as a warrior doesn't learn to wield a sword during battle, you don't learn to master your mind in the midst of chaos. Think of the oak tree in a storm. Its ability to remain standing isn't determined during the tempest. It's determined by the strength of roots grown during calm weather. Your mental stillness works the same way. Let me share something crucial. Every crisis reveals what you've been practicing. If you've been practicing panic, you'll panic. If you've been practicing complaint, you'll complain. If you've been practicing stillness, you'll find stillness. But here's what separates those who maintain composure from those who collapse: their preparation for difficulty. The composed have made friends with discomfort before it arrived uninvited. They've practiced stability when stability was easy, so they could maintain it when it became hard. Consider this: when a crisis arrives, you will not rise to the occasion, you will fall to the level of your training. This is why daily practice in small challenges is more important than grand aspirations for large ones. The development of stillness requires several key practices. First, you must train your mind to remain present, not lost in future fears or past regrets, but fully engaged with what is happening now. This presence is the foundation of all stillness. Second, you must develop the ability to separate events from your judgments about them. The crisis itself is one thing. Your opinion about the crisis is another. Learn to see this distinction clearly. Third, you must build the habit of responding rather than reacting. Reaction is immediate and emotional. Response is measured and intentional. This difference is crucial in crisis. Here's what most people don't want to hear: the time to prepare for crisis is now, during ordinary moments. Every small irritation, every minor setback, every tiny disappointment is an opportunity to practice stillness. Let me ask you this: how are you using your current challenges? Are you seeing them as interruptions to your peace or as opportunities to practice maintaining peace under pressure? Think about those you've seen handle crisis well. Their composure wasn't accidental. It was practiced. Their calm wasn't lucky. It was learned. Their stillness wasn't circumstantial. It was cultivated. The practice of stillness in fire involves several daily habits. First, morning preparation. Begin each day with deliberate calm, whether through meditation, reflection, or quiet contemplation. Set your mind's pattern early. Second, intentional discomfort. Regularly place yourself in challenging situations: cold showers, difficult conversations, physical exertion. These build your capacity for composure under pressure. Third, constant awareness. Pay attention to your responses to small disturbances. Your reaction to a minor annoyance reveals what you'll do in a major crisis. Remember this: the same event that shatters one person's composure leaves another's intact. The difference isn't in the event, it's in the preparation for the event. Your task is not to avoid crisis. Life will bring chaos whether you want it or not. Your task is to develop such deep roots of stillness that no storm can uproot them. Your daily practice of stillness requires several key understandings. First, recognize that every moment is training. Whether you're standing in a long line, stuck in traffic, or dealing with a difficult person, these are not obstacles to your practice. They are your practice. Second, understand that stillness isn't passivity. It's not about becoming numb or unresponsive. It's about maintaining clear thought and purposeful action, even when emotions run high. Third, accept that perfection isn't the goal. You will not achieve perpetual calm. The goal is to develop the ability to return to stillness quickly when you're disturbed. As we continue, understand this: every challenge in your current life is an opportunity to practice stillness. Every disturbance is a chance to demonstrate what you've learned about maintaining composure. The path forward is clear. Train now for the storms that will come. Build your inner stability while things are calm. develop your stillness before you. Desperately need it. Let each small disturbance become your teacher. Let each minor irritation become your training ground. Let each daily challenge become an opportunity to practice what you'll need in greater trials. For in the end, stillness in fire isn't about being untouchable by chaos. It's about being unshakable within it. It's not about avoiding disturbance. It's about maintaining your center when disturbance arrives. Your composure in crisis will be exactly as strong as your preparation for it. Train accordingly. When others panic, your stillness becomes their lesson. In my years of leadership, I've observed this truth repeatedly. In moments of chaos, people don't primarily learn from words, they learn from presence. Your calm becomes their guide. Your stability becomes their strength. Here's what most people don't understand about leadership through stillness. It's not about appearing unaffected. It's about remaining effective. It's not about seeming superhuman. It's about demonstrating what humans are capable of under pressure. Think of a lighthouse in a storm. It doesn't calm the waves. It doesn't still the wind. It simply stands, unwavering, providing a fixed point by which others can navigate. This is your role in times of chaos. Let me share something crucial. When you maintain composure in crisis, you're not just managing yourself, you're teaching everyone around you what's possible. Your stillness ripples outward, affecting all who witness it. But here's what separates those who influence others from those who succumb with others: their understanding of responsibility. The influencer knows that their state affects the state of those around them. Their composure isn't just personal, it's a public service. Consider this: in any group, the emotional tone is often set by the most expressive person, but it can be reset by the most composed person. Your stillness has the power to calm storms you didn't create. The art of leading through stillness involves several key principles. First, understand that others are watching, not to judge you, but to learn from you. Your response to difficulty becomes their template for handling their own challenges. Second, recognize that your calm is contagious. Just as panic spreads through a crowd, composure can spread through your example. Your stillness creates space for others to find their own. Third, accept that leadership through stillness often feels lonely. While others react, you must respond. While others vent, you must remain centered. Here's what most people don't want to accept. Being a steady presence means sometimes standing alone. When everyone else is caught in emotional currents, your stillness may feel like isolation. Accept this as the price of leadership. Let me ask you this: how different would your environment be if you maintained composure when others lost theirs? How might your calm presence affect those around you during difficult times? Think about the most impactful leaders you've known. Chances are their influence came not just from their words or actions, but from their presence, their ability to remain steady when everything around them was in chaos. The practice of leadership through stillness requires several key attributes. First, self-mastery. You cannot lead others to calm if you cannot find it yourself. Your own practice of stillness must be deep and consistent. Second, empathy. Understanding why others panic helps you remain steady without judging them. You become the calm they need, not the criticism they fear. Third, presence. Being fully present in difficult moments, not withdrawn or distant, but engaged and composed. Remember this: the same crisis that causes some to become part of the chaos allows others to become sources of calm. The difference isn't in the crisis, it's in the choice to be a leader rather than a reactor. Your presence in crisis teaches several crucial lessons. First, it shows that panic is optional. When you remain composed in chaos, you demonstrate that there's another way to respond to difficulty. Second, it proves that humans can choose their response to circumstances. Your calm in crisis shows others that they too have this power of choice. Third, it creates a space for others to find their own strength. Your steadiness becomes an invitation for others to discover their own capacity for composure. As we continue, understand this. Every time you maintain composure in difficulty, you're not just practicing personal discipline, you're teaching a masterclass in human potential. The path of leadership through stillness requires several ongoing commitments. First, commit to being the eye of the storm, not removed from the situation, but calm within it, not untouched by events, but unshaken by them. Second, accept that your example will be tested. The more you demonstrate composure, the more opportunities you'll have to demonstrate it again in even greater challenges. Third, understand that your stillness is both a practice and a gift. It serves you, but it also serves others who witness it. Let your composure be your contribution. Let your stillness be your strength. Let your calm presence be your greatest teaching. For in the end, leadership through stillness isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's not about never feeling fear or doubt. It's about showing others how to move forward despite them. The world has enough people who can explain what to do in crisis. Be the one who shows how to be in crisis. Let your very presence become a lesson in possibility. If you need the crowd, you're not strong yet. Through years of reflection and leadership, I've come to understand this vital truth. True strength isn't validated by applause. The person who needs constant company reveals their weakness, their inability to stand alone with their own thoughts, their own principles, their own resolve. Here's what most people don't understand about solitude. It's not about physical isolation. It's about mental independence. It's not about being alone. It's about being complete within yourself. The strongest steel is forged in solitude, away from the noise of public opinion. Think of a mountain standing alone against the sky. It doesn't need other mountains to validate its height. It doesn't require an audience to maintain its strength. Its power comes from its own foundation, its own internal structure. Let me share something crucial. The ability to be alone with yourself is not just a skill, it's a superpower. In a world that increasingly fears silence, that constantly seeks connection, the person who can find strength in solitude possesses a rare and valuable capacity. But here's what separates those who grow through solitude from those who merely endure it: their relationship with themselves. The growing ones use solitude as a laboratory for self-knowledge. The enduring ones see it only as an absence of others. Consider this. Every great insight, every profound realization, every significant breakthrough in human history came through someone's ability to step away from the crowd, to think independently, to stand alone with their thoughts until truth revealed itself. The strength through solitude requires several key understandings. First, recognize that the crowd's approval is temporary. Public opinion changes like the wind. Building your strength on such a foundation is building on shifting sand. Second, understand that true confidence is quiet. It doesn't need constant external validation. It draws its power from internal certainty, from tested principles, from clear self-knowledge. Third, accept that meaningful growth often happens in isolation. The most significant transformations occur not in the spotlight, but in the silence of personal reflection. Here's what most people don't want to hear. If you can't be alone, you're not yet complete. If you need constant distraction from your own thoughts, you're avoiding something essential within yourself. Let me ask you this. What parts of yourself have you not met because you're never truly alone? What wisdom have you missed because you're always drowning out your inner voice with external noise? Think about the truly wise people you've known. Notice how they carry a certain solitude with them. Even in crowds, they're present with others, but not dependent on them. This is not coincidence, it's causation. The practice of solitude builds several crucial strengths. First, it develops self-reliance. When you learn to be alone, you learn to solve problems independently, to trust your own judgment, to stand on your own foundations. Second, it cultivates clear thinking. Away from the noise of other opinions, Your own thoughts have space to develop, to mature, to reach their natural conclusions. Third, it strengthens your character. In solitude, you face yourself honestly. There's no one to impress, no role to play, no mask to maintain. Remember this. The same solitude that terrifies one person strengthens another. The difference isn't in the solitude, it's in the relationship with oneself that solitude reveals. Your task in solitude is not to escape the world, but to build yourself into someone who can engage with it more effectively, someone who brings depth to their connections rather than desperately needing them. The practice of strength through solitude involves several key habits. First, regular periods of intentional isolation. Not just physical alone time, but mental space, free from external influences. No phone, no media, no distractions. Second, deep self-reflection. Using solitude not just to be alone, but to understand yourself better, to examine your thoughts, to question your assumptions. Third, independent thinking. Training yourself to form conclusions based on your own reasoning rather than adopting the ready-made thoughts of others. As we continue, understand this. Every time you choose solitude over distraction, you're building mental independence. Every time you face your own thoughts instead of drowning them out, you're growing stronger. The path forward is clear. Embrace solitude as your teacher. Use it as your training ground. Let it be the forge where you hammer out your strongest self. Let your comfort with solitude become your strength. Let your ability to stand alone become your power. Let your independence from the crowd become your freedom. For in the end, strength isn't measured by how many people stand with you. It's measured by your ability to stand alone when you must. It's not about rejecting connection, but about connecting from a place of completeness rather than need. Your relationship with solitude will determine much of your relationship with life itself. Choose to make it a source of strength rather than a source of fear. For the person who has learned to be strong in solitude can never truly be weakened by circumstance. They cannot raise you, so they cannot break you. In my years as both emperor and philosopher, I have witnessed this unchangeable truth. If you allow praise to inflate you, you simultaneously give criticism the power to deflate you. True strength lies in remaining unmoved by either. Here's what most people don't understand about external validation. It's a double-edged sword. The same voices that build you up today can tear you down tomorrow. The moment you depend on others' opinions for your worth is the moment you surrender your peace of mind. Think of a mountain. It remains the same height regardless of whether people praise or criticize its elevation. Its magnitude is not determined by opinion, but by reality. This is how you must learn to view your own worth. Let me share something crucial. The opinions of others, whether positive or negative, are like clouds passing across the sky of your consciousness. The sky remains unchanged regardless of the clouds that cross it. Your true worth remains constant regardless of others' assessments. But here's what separates those who maintain their center from those who live at the mercy of opinions: their source of validation. The centered ones have built their worth on internal foundations, principles, values, personal standards. The scattered ones build it on external praise, which is as unreliable as the wind. Consider this: every time you accept praise as a measure of your worth, you simultaneously accept criticism as equally valid. You can't selectively empower external opinions. They come as a package deal. The art of remaining unmoved requires several key understandings. First, recognize that most praise and criticism say more about the giver than the receiver. People praise what reflects well on them and criticize what threatens them. Second, understand that neither praise nor criticism can actually change your value. They can only change your perception of your value if you let them. Third, accept that the only valid judgment of your actions is whether they align with your principles, not whether they attract applause or criticism. Here's what most people don't want to accept. You must be willing to disappoint those who praise you and surprise those who criticize you. Your actions must flow from your principles, not from others' expectations. Let me ask you this. If no one ever praised you again, would you still do what you know is right? If no one ever criticized you again, would you still correct what you know is wrong? Think about those you truly admire. Notice how their worth seems independent of public opinion. Notice how they can be praised without becoming arrogant, criticized without becoming defensive. This is not accident, it's achievement. The practice of remaining unmoved develops several crucial qualities. First, it builds true confidence, the kind that doesn't need constant reinforcement from others. Second, it develops clarity of purpose. Your actions become guided by principles rather than praise. Third, it creates genuine freedom, the freedom to act without constantly calculating the opinions your actions might generate. Remember this: the same praise that elevates one person leaves another unmoved. The same criticism that crushes one person strengthens another. The difference isn't in the words, it's in the foundation of self-worth they land upon. Your task is not to become immune to praise or criticism. That would be inhuman. Your task is to hear them without being moved by them, to listen without being swayed, to acknowledge without being defined. The daily practice of remaining unmoved involves several key habits. First, regular self-assessment based on your own standards. Not asking, what will they think, but does this align with my principles? Second, conscious detachment from outcomes. Doing what's right because it's right, not because it will be praised or criticized. Third, consistent return to your center. When praise or criticism comes, returning to your principles rather than being carried away by opinions. As we continue, understand this: every piece of praise and every bit of criticism is an opportunity to practice staying centered. Every opinion offered is a chance to demonstrate what truly guides you. The path forward is clear. Build your worth on what cannot be taken away. Root your value in what cannot be shaken by opinion. Ground your peace in what remains constant regardless of what others say. Let your stability become your strength. Let your independence from praise and criticism become your freedom. Let your unmoved center become your power. For in the end, it's not about becoming insensitive to others' opinions. It's about becoming so secure in your own worth that their opinions lose their power to disturb your peace. Not because you're above them, but because you're centered within yourself. You don't become unbreakable in a moment. You become it through practice. In my years of studying both human nature and the art of leadership, I've discovered this immutable truth. Strength of character is not born in grand moments of challenge. It is built slowly and deliberately through thousands of small choices and daily practices. Here's what most people don't understand about becoming unmoved. It's not an event, it's a practice. Just as no warrior becomes skilled by merely thinking about combat, no one becomes unbreakable by merely wishing for strength. The training must be daily, deliberate, and disciplined. Think of water carving through stone. The transformation doesn't happen in a day or with a single powerful surge. It happens drop by drop, day after day, year after year. This is how unbreakable character is formed, through consistent, persistent practice. Let me share something crucial. Every moment of your day is training. Whether you recognize it or not, you are always practicing something. The question is not whether you're training. The question is what you're training for. But here's what separates those who become unbreakable from those who remain fragile: their relationship with practice. The fragile see practice as something they do occasionally. The unbreakable see every moment as practice, every interaction, every challenge, every inconvenience. Consider this: when a crisis arrives, you will not rise to your expectations. You will fall to the level of your training. This is why daily practice in small moments matters more than grand intentions for large moments. The daily training to become unmoved requires several key practices. First, morning preparation. Begin each day by setting your mind's direction. Whether through meditation, reflection, or contemplation, establish your mental posture before the world demands your attention. Second, intentional challenges. Regularly place yourself in situations that test your composure. Cold showers, difficult conversations, physical exertion. These are not merely challenges. They are opportunities to practice remaining unmoved. The third, evening review. End each day by examining your responses to the day's events. Where did you maintain composure? Where did you lose it? What can you learn from both? Here's what most people don't want to accept. The path to becoming unbreakable is often boring. It's not about dramatic moments of triumph. It's about consistent, sometimes tedious, always important, daily practices. Let me ask you this. What are you practicing right now? In your responses to minor irritations, in your reactions to small setbacks, in your handling of daily challenges, what patterns are you reinforcing? Think about any skill you've mastered. Did it come through occasional bursts of effort or through consistent, dedicated practice? Becoming unbreakable works the same way. It's a skill developed through repetition, not a state achieved through inspiration. The practice of becoming unmoved involves several daily rituals. First, physical discipline. Your body must be trained to remain steady under stress. Regular exercise, controlled breathing, maintained posture. These are not just physical practices, they are mental training. Second, emotional discipline. Your emotions must be acknowledged but not given control. Practice observing your feelings without being ruled by them. Third, mental discipline. Your thoughts must be directed rather than allowed to wander. Practice focusing your mind, controlling your attention, choosing your perspectives. Remember this: the same event that breaks an untrained person leaves a well-trained one unmoved. The difference isn't in the event, it's in the preparation for the event. Your daily practice should include several key elements. First, discomfort training. Regularly expose yourself to controlled discomfort. This builds your capacity to handle uncontrolled discomfort when it arrives. Second, response practice. In every interaction, practice responding rather than reacting. Take the pause between stimulus and response and make it deliberate. Third, principle application. Use every situation as an opportunity to apply your principles. Let each moment become a chance to practice what you believe. As we continue, understand this: every interaction is practice. Every challenge is practice. Every moment of choice is practice. You are always training. Make sure you're training what you want to become. The path forward is clear. Train daily. Train deliberately. Train with purpose. Let every moment become an opportunity to practice strength, to practice composure, to practice becoming unmoved. Let your practice be your priority. Let your training be your testimony. Let your daily discipline be your path to becoming unbreakable. For in the end, you do not rise to the level of your hopes, you fall to the level of your training. Train accordingly, train consistently, train as if your character depends on it, because it does. This is not about achieving perfection. It's about maintaining practice, not about never being moved, but about knowing how to return to center when you are moved. This is the true practice of the unbreakable. What you lose is never greater than what you become. Through years of governing an empire and facing personal losses, I've learned this profound truth. Loss, while painful, contains within it the seeds of transformation. Every subtraction from your life creates space for addition to your character. Here's what most people don't understand about loss. It's not just an event that takes something from you. It's an opportunity that can give something to you. The question is not whether you will lose things in life. You will. The question is what you will become through those losses. Think of a sculptor creating a masterpiece. Every strike of the chisel removes something, yet this removal is precisely what reveals the beauty within. Loss works the same way in human character. It can reveal strength you never knew you had. Let me share something crucial. The way you handle loss determines whether it diminishes you or develops you. Loss itself is neutral. It's your response to loss that determines whether it becomes a curse or a catalyst. But here's what separates those who grow through loss from those who are crushed by it: their perspective on what remains. The crushed focus only on what's been taken. The growing focus also on what can't be taken: their principles, their courage, their capacity to endure. Consider this. Every significant loss presents two possibilities. You can become bitter about what was taken, or better because of what you gained through the experience. This choice, and it is a choice, shapes not just your present, but your future. The art of letting loss refine you requires several key understandings. First, accept that loss is inevitable. Nothing external is permanent. Everything given can be taken. This isn't pessimism, it's preparation. Second, understand that loss often precedes growth. Just as pruning can strengthen a tree, losing something can create space for something stronger to develop. Third, recognize that what matters most can't be taken. Your character, your wisdom, your earned strength, these remain yours regardless of external losses. Here's what most people don't want to hear. The things you're most afraid to lose are often the things keeping you from becoming who you need to be. Your attachments can become your limitations. Let me ask you this. What losses have you experienced that, looking back, led to unexpected growth? What difficulties seemed unbearable at the time but ultimately made you stronger? Think about those who have handled great losses with dignity. Notice how they often emerge not diminished, but deepened, not weaker, but wiser. This is not accident, it's alchemy. The practice of turning loss into refinement involves several key elements. First, immediate acceptance. The sooner you accept what cannot be changed, the sooner you can focus on what can be learned. Second, intentional examination. Ask, not just what did I lose, but what might I gain from this experience? Third, conscious transformation. Choose deliberately to let the loss shape you into something stronger, wiser, more resilient. Remember this: the same loss that destroys one person's spirit strengthens another's character. The difference isn't in the loss, it's in the response to loss. Your task in loss is not to pretend it doesn't hurt. It does. Your task is to ensure that the pain serves a purpose, that the hurt leads to healing, that the loss leads to learning. The process of being refined by loss involves several stages. First, there's the shock, the immediate impact of the loss. Don't try to skip this stage, but don't stay here. Second, there's the reflection, the examination of what this loss means and what it might teach. Third, there's the transformation, the conscious choice to let this loss make you better rather than bitter. As we continue, understand this: every loss in your life is an opportunity to demonstrate what can't be lost: your dignity, your principles, your determination to grow stronger through difficulty. The path forward is clear. Accept loss as inevitable. Welcome it as instructive. Use it as transformative. Let each loss become not just an ending, but a beginning. Let loss reveal your strength. Let difficulty deepen your character. Let what's taken away show you what can never be taken. For in the end, it's not what you lose that defines you. It's what you become through the losing. Not what's taken from you, but what's built in you through the taking. Your relationship with loss will determine much of your growth in life. Choose to see it not as your enemy, but as your refiner, not as your destroyer, but as your developer. For the person who learns to be refined by loss becomes impossible to destroy by it. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. In all my years observing human nature, both as emperor and as student of wisdom, I've witnessed this unchangeable truth. True power speaks through action, not announcement. The strongest force in nature, gravity, moves planets without making a sound. Here's what most people don't understand about strength. It doesn't need to declare itself. Just as a deep river flows quietly while shallow streams babble, genuine, Power operates with minimal noise. The more you speak about your strength, the more you reveal its absence. Think of the mighty oak tree. It doesn't speak of its strength, it demonstrates it. It doesn't boast of its depth, it simply grows deeper. It doesn't announce its resilience, it simply endures. This is the model of true power. Let me share something crucial. The habit of speaking little but doing much is not just about communication. It's about conservation of energy. Every word you speak about what you'll do is energy you could have spent actually doing it. But here's what separates those who possess true strength from those who merely talk about it: their relationship with proof. The truly strong let their actions speak. The merely loud let their words substitute for action. Consider this. In any crisis, notice who speaks endlessly about solutions and who quietly implements them. Notice who broadcasts their intentions and who simply acts on them. This contrast reveals the difference between apparent strength and actual strength. The practice of speaking little but enduring much requires several key understandings. First, recognize that words are easy. Anyone can talk about being strong, being resilient, being unbreakable. The proof lies not in declaration, but in demonstration. Second, understand that true strength often operates in silence, not because it's hiding, but because it's focused on action rather than announcement. Third, accept that the need to constantly speak about your strength often reveals its absence. The more you need to tell others how strong you are, the less likely you are to be truly strong. Here's what most people don't want to hear. Your constant talking about what you'll do, what you're capable of, how strong you are, it's not impressive. It's often a sign of insecurity, a need for validation that true strength doesn't require. Let me ask you this. What if you took all the energy you spend talking about what you'll do and invested it in actually doing? What if you replaced announcement with action, declaration with demonstration? Think about the truly strong people you know. Notice how they often say less, but accomplish more. Notice how their strength shows itself in actions, not advertisements. This is not coincidence, it's character. The practice of silent strength develops several crucial qualities. First, it builds focus. When you're not constantly talking about what you'll do, you have more energy to actually do it. Second, it develops genuine confidence, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it proves itself through action. Third, it creates trust. People learn to trust what you do more than what you say because your actions speak consistently louder than your words. Remember this: the same challenge that makes one person talk endlessly makes another person act decisively. The difference isn't in the challenge, it's in the character. Your task is not to become completely silent. That would be unnatural and unhelpful. Your task is to ensure that your words serve a purpose beyond self-promotion, beyond empty promises, beyond hollow declarations. The daily practice of speaking little but enduring much involves several key habits. First, action before announcement. Don't speak of what you'll do, do it, then let the results speak for themselves. Second, conservation of energy. Save your words for when they're truly needed. Let your consistent actions build your reputation. Third, quiet resilience. When facing challenges, focus your energy on overcoming them rather than discussing them. As we continue, understand this. Every time you feel the urge to speak about your strength, your resilience, your power, transform that urge into action that demonstrates these qualities instead. The path forward is clear. Let your actions speak. Let your endurance testify. Let your quiet persistence reveal your true strength. Let silence be your strength. Let action be your voice. Let results be your testimony. For in the end, it's not what you say about your power that matters. It's what you demonstrate through your actions. Not how loudly you declare your strength, but how consistently you display it. The truly strong don't need to tell you they're strong, they show you. They don't need to speak of their resilience, they demonstrate it. They don't need to announce their power, they embody it. Choose to be the one who acts while others talk. Choose to be the one who demonstrates while others declare. Choose to be the one whose strength speaks through silence and whose power proves itself through persistence. When others collapse, you will stand. Throughout all my teachings, all my observations, all my years of leading both armies and an empire, this final truth emerges. Your ultimate test is not in avoiding collapse. It's in being the one who remains. Standing when others fall. Here's what most people don't understand about being unbreakable. It's not about being untouchable by difficulty. It's about being unmovable within difficulty. It's not about never feeling pain. It's about never being owned by it. Think of the lighthouse in the fiercest storm. It doesn't avoid the waves. It stands within them. It doesn't escape the wind. It endures it. And in doing so, it serves its highest purpose, showing others the way through darkness. Let me share something crucial. The world doesn't need more people who collapse under pressure. It needs those who have trained themselves to stand firm, to maintain their principles, to keep their composure when chaos reigns. But here's what separates those who stand from those who fall: their preparation for difficulty. The ones who stand have made friends with discomfort before it arrived uninvited. They've practiced stability when stability was easy, so they could maintain it when it became hard. Consider this: in any crisis, in any challenge, in any moment of collective difficulty, there are always those few who maintain their center while others lose theirs. This isn't about being better, it's about being better prepared. The art of being the one who never falls apart requires several key elements. First, you must build unshakable foundations. Your principles, your self-knowledge, your daily practices. These must be solid enough to support you when everything else seems uncertain. Second, you must develop unwavering focus, not the kind that ignores reality, but the kind that can maintain clarity even when chaos surrounds you. Third, you must cultivate impenetrable peace, not the fragile peace that depends on perfect conditions, but the sturdy peace that remains intact despite conditions. Here is what most people don't want to accept. Being the one who stands when others fall isn't a gift, it's a choice made thousands of times in small moments before the big moments arrive. Let me ask you this: what have all these lessons been preparing you for? Every principle we've discussed, every practice we've explored, they've all been leading to this: your ability to stand firm when standing firm seems impossible. Think about the moments in history when one person's stability affected countless others, when one person's refusal to collapse gave others the courage to stand. This is not about being a hero. It's about being prepared when heroic moments arrive. The practice of being unbreakable involves several daily commitments. First, maintain your standards, especially when it's difficult. Anyone can have standards. When it's easy, the test comes when maintaining them requires real sacrifice. Second, keep your composure, particularly when others are losing theirs. Your calm in chaos becomes a resource for everyone around you. Third, stay true to your principles, precisely when they're being challenged. Principles that bend under pressure aren't principles, they're preferences. Remember this: the same circumstance that breaks one person reveals another's strength. The difference isn't in the circumstance, it's in the preparation for the circumstance. Our task now is not just to stand. It's to stand in a way that shows others it's possible to stand. Not just to endure, but to endure in a way that demonstrates what humans are capable of enduring. The final stages of becoming unbreakable involve several key realizations. First, understand that your strength isn't for you alone. When you stand firm, you show others what's possible. When you maintain composure, you create space for others to find theirs. Second, recognize that being unbreakable isn't about being perfect. It's about being reliable. Not about never failing, but about always rising. Third, accept that your journey to becoming unbreakable never ends. Each new level of strength reveals new challenges, new opportunities to prove your stability. As we conclude, understand this: Everything you've learned, everything you've practiced, everything you've built within yourself, it all serves this ultimate purpose: being the one who remains standing when standing seems impossible. The path has been clear from the beginning. Build your strength daily. Train your mind consistently. Forge your character continuously. Let each challenge be another opportunity to prove what you've learned about being unbreakable. Let your stability be your testimony. Let your strength be your service. Let your unbreakable spirit be your gift to a world that desperately needs examples of human potential. For in the end, being unbreakable isn't about never being hit by life's storms. It's about never being broken by them. Not about avoiding difficulty, but about being the kind of person who can face any difficulty with unchangeable strength. You have within you everything needed to be this person, every capacity required to stand when others fall, every resource necessary to remain whole when others break apart. The choice, as always, remains yours. Choose to be unbreakable. Choose to be unmovable. Choose to be the one who stands, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. When others collapse, you will stand. Not because you're special, but because you've prepared. Not because you're better, but because you've trained. Not because you're destined, but because you've decided. This is your moment. This is your testimony. This is your truth. Stand strong. Stand firm. Stand unbreakable.